Good evening and welcome to the NDTV Dialogues, a conversation of ideas. And the ideas this week are, of course, on what's happening with the judiciary. What a week it's been. The Judge Loya verdict, an impeachment motion by the opposition, and, of course, the recent Chief Justice verdict on who decides on being the master of the roster. The Chief Justice is an institution in himself. Joining me for more on that is ex-Chief Justice AP Shah of the Delhi High Court and the Madras High Court. He was also the ex-head of the Law Commission of India. Justice Shah, first, your reaction on the verdict that has had the political class divided, but has been a very clear and strong verdict on the bench headed by Justice Misra, including Justice Chandrachud and Justice Khavilkar, who said Judge Loya's death is natural. Do you agree with the verdict?
No, I'll just, before making any comment, I just would like to give the background. See, a person by name Sohrabdin and his wife were killed. They were supposedly killed in an encounter. The Supreme Court, by its verdict of September 2012, said that there won't be a fair trial in Gujarat state, and they shifted it to Maharashtra. Supreme Court directed that the trial should be conducted by one judge from start to finish, and judge will not be changed. So one Mr. Utpat was appointed as a judge to deal with this case. It appears that the accused, Mr. Abid Shah, was one of the accused. They did not appear. So he fixed a date. He asked them to appear, and he fixed 26 June 2014 as the date for appearance of the accused. On 25th June, Mr. Utpat was transferred to some other place, and Mr. Loya was appointed. There was a huge record documentation of, by that time it was almost 10,000 pages. Again, the accused did not appear. So Mr. Loya asked Mr. Amit Shah and others to state reasons for non-appearance, and he fixed the matter on 15th of December. And in the meantime, Loya went to Nagpur to attend this marriage, and he died there, according to the petitioner, in some mysterious circumstances. And then on 1st or 2nd, I think, Mr. Gosavi was appointed as the judge in his place. And within few days, by 30th of December 2014, the trial was over. Mr. Amit Shah was discharged and some other accused were discharged. Now, it appears at that time, Mr. Loya's son wrote a letter to the Chief Justice of Bombay High Court to hold an inquiry into his father's death. Then subsequently some investigations were carried out, and Loya's father and his sister appeared on the video. It's a video testimony. So Loya's father and sister both said that there were attempts to pressurize him, and there were offers given to offer of bribe or giving some property in Mumbai, etc.
Yes.
And he was under tremendous pressure. He wanted to resign and come back to his native place. This is what father said. And so they had some suspicion about the death. And this report came, I think, in November 2017, and the allegation was that the then Chief Justice of the Bombay High Court was involved. Now, in these circumstances, I spoke to your channel, and I felt, I had nothing to do with any political party, but I honestly felt that there should be an inquiry into this whole episode of some complaints about bribery, attempt to bribe a judge, etc. That was my view, and I just expressed it. I mean, in fact, I was the first to speak on this. Now, then the Bombay Advocates Association filed this petition. It's a credible association. I know this association, and they said that there should be an inquiry into this in view of all these circumstances. Now, I have not understood one thing, what the judges said, that this PIL was targeting the judiciary. I have not understood, because PIL merely said, I am talking about the PIL which was filed by Bombay Law Association. It merely said that hold an inquiry into the death of this judge.
Yes.
Nothing beyond that. And at that time it was not known where 4 judges accompanied him, etc. So I don't think there was any motive in that. I mean, subsequently there were very heated exchanges, and then many things were said, and then the court felt that way. Court was hurt by some of the accusations. That's understandable. But I think that a demand for a fair inquiry into the death by some retired judge or anybody, I mean, that I don't think anything wrong in that.
But let me just ask you, Justice Shah, because you mentioned the points which came up before the Supreme Court began hearing the case. But after the Supreme Court has heard the case and given the verdict, they've pointed to what they say were actual falsehoods presented to them. The fact that they say that it was claimed that Judge Loya was taken to the hospital in an auto rickshaw when actually he was taken in a car. They've pointed that out. They've said the whole implication that one individual, and presumably the individual maybe they're referring to as the BJP President Amit Shah, the implication that one individual could influence the judiciary was completely wrong. They've called it, as you just said as well, scandalous and scurrilous, amounting to contempt. So in a sense, they have said categorically also Judge Loya has died of natural causes. There's no mystery in this. Why should you doubt the statement of four judicial officers?
I respect that finding.
So why then an inquiry?
No, I respect. I mean, they have come to the conclusion that the death was unnatural. I don't know whether they have dealt with those the alleged suspicious circumstances. I have not studied the judgment, but the court has come to this conclusion. I have one important issue, that can you say that by this verdict the prestige and the majesty of the court is enhanced, or doubts about Mr. Loya's death would still persist? I mean, I wish that an inquiry from a retired judge would have been an alternative course. I am not saying that too much happened in the court. I had nothing to make any comment on that. I can't justify the accusations made against the judges who were hearing this case. But do you not think that even after this verdict, the doubts will still persist, and many things were said that this was amounted to criminal contempt, etc. I have a very firm view on this contempt law. According to me, this is completely obsolete law. It is being used only in the Asian countries. Outside, it is not used at all. But I want to say that the judiciary cannot run on its power of contempt. Judiciary runs on the esteem given to it by the people, by the trust reposed to it by the people. So really, all this talk about whether the conduct was contemptuous, etc. According to me, it doesn't take us anywhere. The other thing which is really worrying me, I'm not talking about this specific case, is you remember Justice J.S. Verma's words. He said, "Be you, never be so high, the law is above you." So these were very, very prophetic words. So, but the ability of the judiciary in the recent times, I'm not talking about this case, but there are several cases, Birla Sahara case and then many other cases. Ability of the judiciary to question high and mighty I see it is decreased to a certain extent.
You think there's a fear in the judiciary?
No, I'm not saying fear, but I don't find that the older days, you remember that the many powerful ministers, chief minister had to resign because of the judgment by the court. Remember the judgment in Jain Hawala diary cases. So it has happened, but the recent trend is I'm not sure whether it is a matter of introspection for the judiciary. And another thing which you must note, that when the petition in Bombay High Court was pending, the other petition surfaced by Mr. Poonawalla, that was referred to a particular bench, and that was a trigger point for the press conference of the 4 judges. So they objected to that, and perhaps then it was taken up by the present bench. But these doubts remain, and I must refer to this today's article in the Indian Express by Mr. Sujant Singh. I mean, these press meets, I will speak about it a little later, but these press meets and it should not be taken as some internal squabble between judges. there are larger issues involved. He reminded us of the emergency days where Chief Justice Andre wanted to hold a larger, constitute a larger bench to overrule Keshavanand, where the other judges protested. So this is, according to him, this is a really a fight to protect the Supreme Court.
No, of course, and just to ask on that, sir, the opposite view perhaps, that because the judgment stressed very much on this, the judgment written by Judge Chandrachud, saying that why should we distrust for judicial officers? But critics have pointed out that has this also then ignored the press conference by 4 Supreme Court judges, the 4 senior most Supreme Court judges, which raised questions on the allocation of the Judge Loya case. So on the one hand, contempt, let's keep the contempt issues aside, but the core of the judgment being that we trust for judicial officers. If you distrust them, in a sense, you're distrusting the judiciary. Would you agree?
No, that's a viewpoint. Their viewpoint cannot be said to be wholly incorrect. But it's also possible that I was told that somebody said that whether such judicial officers should be subjected by the questioning of some investigating officer. This is completely undesirable situation. But surely if a retired judge, a very eminent judge, somebody looks into the matter and talks to these judges and just to find out the truth. My fear is that these doubts and these questions about this issue about Judge Loya's death are going to remain. This cannot be stopped here. Unfortunately, though there is a very emphatic ruling that the death was natural, and there are no suspicious circumstances, or the so-called suspicious circumstances cannot be a ground for ordering an inquiry. But I have some issue on that. What about his father's or sister's testimony that there was attempt to pressurize him? Is it going to be?
But then a son's testimony
saying son's testimony is later. Earlier he demanded an inquiry. No, I am only saying that these issues should be investigated. There is a clear feeling that when it comes to the judges themselves, then perhaps the wheels of justice grind rather very slow.
But Justice Shah, wouldn't people ask you then, if the judgment of 3 sitting Supreme Court judges, including the Chief Justice of India and 2 senior judges, are not accepted, why would an inquiry by a retired judge, why would that end doubts then in the Judge Loya case? There will always be doubting Thomases.
No, see, we must respect this verdict. They have gone into the various circumstances and they have come to the conclusion that death was natural. What happens is that a court verdict is based only on the arguments of the parties.
It's not an inquiry.
It's not an inquiry. Inquiry has a larger scope. So it is, of course, it is for and I'm not subscribing to the view that it is all because of one man. The entire judiciary would act in a particular way. I'm not suggesting that, but this is very important. The justice should not only be done, but seem to have been done by Chidar.
Justice Shah, we also now have an impeachment motion. This is the first time an impeachment motion has been moved against the Chief Justice of India. What do you think the significance of this is, given that the opposition doesn't really have the numbers? Is this more about the politics? The Supreme Court also said that political rivalries must be fought in the halls of democracy. Are we now seeing a whole politicization or a political reason for all these things to be happening?
Impeachment is clearly a political issue. There has been impeachment motions brought in Parliament in the past. That's a purely political issue. I'm not sure what is the purpose of this impeachment motion. Finally, the opposition do not have the number. There is also a possibility that the Speaker may or may not accept the motion. Then the matter will have to be taken to the Supreme Court. In that process, the Chief Justice would retire by that time. So I really and impeachment is not it's my view that the judges should leave this behind and really sit together and talk about the reforms.
Justice Shah, we'll just take a quick break and we'll be back with segment 2 of this exclusive NDTV Dialogues.